to come and talk to us specifically about SolleMegas and its role and how it can help us possibly in balancing this circulation, blood oxygen, anemia, and really just supporting our clarification and heart health in general.
I'm happy to do that, Erica, as best I can. I'm just sitting here kind of enjoying the teaching and mesmerized, as always, every week. I love these classes. So glad you're doing them. This kind of time spent is the best, because it not only helps us, but it will help everyone that we open our mouth to share it with. And that's one of the really great things about being part of the Solle family. And I can tell you, lives, it's a constant flow of good news and a constant, I don't know how to describe it. Words kind of aren't really adequate, but it's a constant flow of people telling what's changed for them and that everything is so much better. This kind of information is life-changing, I've always felt. And I'm grateful for Erica's time in preparing this. SolleMegas, the product she asked me to talk about, it's one of those kind of products, really simply put, it's so central and so basic. You'll see it in a lot of programs, probably most of them. And there's a reason for it. There's something special about healthy and good fats, and in particular, these fats that are described by omegas, but that are called in particular omegas because there are other fats. But the thing is, I want to say that what is unique about the omegas in SolleMegas is that they all come from plants. And because they come that way, they come with so much more. One of the early lessons that I learned, so fortunate to be part of this for a little more than 30 years, is that we are very much trained to extract substances that are known to be beneficial out of their source. And the body can, we've pretty much proven it over the last number of decades. We can take those kind of capsules and pills and tablets, and the body will absorb some of it, or a little more of it, or even a lot of it. But what I've learned and what I've seen, and even more so since we founded Solle Naturals, if we can provide them in their source, so not quit extracting one thing, or like in the case of SolleMegas, just an omega, and feeding it to us this way, we get so much more out of it. And I'll give you an example. SolleMegas has, I'm trying to think here. Well, I've got a bottle here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sources of omegas. The number one source in the bottle is sea buckthorn. Because of our location here, I knew a gentleman and his staff who started a company, an entire company based on sea buckthorn. They were able to, because of how amazingly diverse this particular plant is, and omegas are part of it. We're talking everything from skincare to almost any product you could imagine. But what they would do is they'd extract parts of it and then create a product, extract another part and create a product, split it all up. I'm actually proposing at Solle for the last decade, let's not split them up. Let's do our best to get them in their whole state. But I do think we need to concentrate them. And that's what we've done with SolleMegas. So SolleMegas is the seed. And this is what's interesting. This product, they're all seeds. If you look at them, which is really, really interesting, they're the concentrated part that is pressed for the omega, but also includes the other components in the seed. Sea buckthorn, that's an exception because it's sea buckthorn fruit and seed. And the reason for that is the fruit is loaded with these healthy fats too, among them omegas. So we could just put omegas in here from plants. We could extract them away, or we can give you the whole pressed part of that plant that contains the omega. And yes, it dominates that part of the plant. So it's in an oil base, but the rest of that seed is in there as well. And so the only part that is strained away is the husk, okay? But the rest of that is there. And so what you get, to go back to the sea buckthorn, is not just omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, and because of the fruit omega-7, 4 different kinds of omegas. In other words, a very balanced omega, but you also get the other 180 some odd beneficial plant compounds, vitamins, minerals, this huge variety of fatty acids. You get all of it, and the body needs all of it and uses it. And it's not always clear in science, not today anyway, maybe it will be in some time, why it just works better with it. But what we can tell you from our experience in Solle, I mean, one of my favorite stories to share is Lydia. It's your grandpa, right, Lydia? He was using an animal sourced omega for many years because it made a big difference. Lydia, how many was he using a day of this animal? And then when SolleMegas came out, now these are just from plants. A lot of people have the misconception that, oh, if I want the strong stuff, I'll get animal.
Right.
And I will tell you why they say that. But plants, again, I want to submit to you, more powerful, because I define powerful as how much the body does with the same amount of product. So back to Lydia's grandpa, how much was he using of the animal?
My grandfather had a issue with not being able to urinate, to pee. And so they put a, what is that called? Help me in English.
Catheter?
Catheter. I can never pronounce that right. And they were giving him from this other company, part of the program that he was on, he was taking at least 6 omegas. So he was taking 2-3 times a day to bring down the inflammation, was what we were trying to work on, so that he could eventually pee, which we were hoping for. And doctor said, yeah, that's not going to happen. But we ran out of it. And we had just started with Solle, and I kept pushing Solle to my parents. Yes, I did push. And it wasn't happening, but we ran out. And my dad was a big believer in Solle, but my mother just really wasn't ready to make the switch. And so she said, okay, we ran out. We got to give him what we have. And 1 SolleMega is what they gave him. 1 or 2, maybe. I don't even remember if it was 1 or 2. They probably know the story better, but it wasn't more than that.
Yeah.
And the nurse would come in and take care of my grandfather for a few hours in the morning. And day 2 of doing that, she said, what are you guys giving him? Because he's peeing. We were like, what? And long story short, they took the catheter out. Something that we thought wasn't going to happen, because my grandfather was 101 or 102 at that moment.
And I can tell you, I've heard that story repeated, thanks, Lydia, so many different times. These plant omegas, and that's another difference so one difference of SolleMegas is you get the rest of what's in chia seed and flax seed and black currant oil, which has all sorts of stress leveling studies. I mean, I think of the list that Erica just taught us, all those indicators, and I can tell you that omegas and what comes with them in a plant source, they are functional in influencing all of those, virtually that entire list and more. Of course, that's not an exhaustive list. So that's the second thing, is that you get a much higher variety. The third thing is you don't deal with any of the quality issues of omegas from an animal source and ocean source, where I can tell you there are a number of issues that are hit and miss in quality there. In terms of heavy metals and other problems that traditionally have happened with those. But so you get this huge variety, and in tests, as Erica said, science is kind of validating a lot of what we've learned over time in history and what we've seen actually using these products. And I will tell you, every single measure that is very common for the health of your circulation, like pressure, like sugar levels, like good fats and fat levels in there, and the state of the fats, right? All of those are influenced by simply adding healthy fats and good omegas. So I always have to sort of say omegas in quotes, because SolleMegas are omegas in their state. And that's why you see the studies and you see so much more, but I can't think of a better thing to boost blood. And they're so directly talked about with brain health. Well, I think Erica already explained why. So you kind of focus on blood and all those markers that she's talking about. About the only one that I really don't know, is oxygen levels. But I know that Solle Vital, which we've kind of talked about, that's kind of where it's centered there in terms of directly relating that to omegas. But all the rest of them, I can tell you, it can relate directly to the omegas. People talk about EPA and DHA and how that's something only created. You don't get those from plants. And you'll hear that a lot with omegas. And I just wanted to bring it up because when you get omegas in their state, in their source, in good sources, the body actually is quite efficient. And I will flat out disagree with publication and science where they say, oh yeah, the body makes EPA and DHA, but it's not very efficient at it. Yeah, depending on what you feed it, and also depending on how balanced you are. When you work on yourself, it's amazing. Ergo, Lydia's grandpa. How efficient is a 101-year-old that's doing quite efficient? And they were working in a balanced way with him. Yeah. And so he was getting that, and you add this in, his body was able to work with it, and you'll be shocked at the results. So like better skin, no brain fog, so many different things that are attributed to omegas. To me, just ratchet that up a couple of levels when you get them from plants. So anyway, Erica, yes, omegas, plant source, the most powerful source, a good variety. I didn't really mention the individual ingredients, but they come from various parts of the world. So you're not going to really get this mix if you just go down locally and try to combine. That's another thing Solle can bring, is because we source globally. Like one of the new ingredients we added was perilla, which is Korea and that area of the world. Again, another seed. So I just think, boy, it is a basic. And I will tell you my final comment. This is a little bit of a confession too. It was something that had fallen off my regimen, but I can tell you now I've made this change: 2 in the morning, 2 at night. Now that's more than I was doing because I just maintenance 2. Okay, but I'm just doing that right now, felt the gap. And I will just tell you, even though I already feel pretty good, but I can run myself a little ragged, biking and running and things, noticeably better adding the omegas. So sometimes you might want to ratchet it up for a period of time, and you'll know when you can back it down to maintenance.
Love it. I love SolleMegas. I'll tell you, I was feeling the effects of not having my SolleMegas during the drought. I have decided that I will never not have backups just in case that happens again. Because when I don't take it, I immediately start to notice my skin change. Like it starts to get dry very quickly. And even though I take other products that have healthy fats, there's just something about SolleMegas. And I know it's exactly what you're saying. It's that completeness of it. And it giving us such like really beautiful balance of everything that we need in that completeness with all the other stuff. I mean, we could probably do like 4 or 5 classes on Buckthorn alone. It's so powerful, right? I mean, it is, it's just such an incredible product.